What did you say his power level is?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 8,000, not 9,000, we know. People seem to really like this sort of thing, so I guess we should keep going. If you haven't seen the first part, I'm essentially going through the English dub of Dragon Ball Z and pointing out all of the major mistranslations within. In part 1, we cover up to episode 21 and found 91 major mistranslations. There's a ton of minor ones as well, but they're just not that interesting. Last time we ended off just as Vegeta and Nappa arrived on Earth, so that's where we'll pick up from in this one. Before we get back into it though, I learned a few interesting things since the first part. Back when Funimation initially got the rights to Dragon Ball, they outsourced to the Ocean Group in Canada to voice the characters. But at some point, they didn't have enough money to keep outsourcing, so they swapped over to the Funimation cast you know today. They went on to finish the series, but once they finished, they went back and redubbed the first several episodes with the new cast. Now, if you actually listen to them side by side, you'll quickly realize they essentially just reread the script from the Ocean dub word for word. Well, that's mostly true, but they did make a few changes. Some episodes were skipped over in the Ocean dub, so Funimation later added them back in. Or, an infamous dub problem I brought up in the first part, where Raditz talks about his technique, the double Sunday. In the original series, it's a plot point that Raditz doesn't have any techniques, so the dub adding in a section where he hypes up one of his techniques was really weird. Well, it turns out it wasn't in the Ocean dub, so seemingly someone at Funimation added that line in to reference the name Raditz's attack was given in the Dragon Ball Budokai video game series. Okay, so let's jump back in with episode 22. Starting out, the dub narrator talks like 5 times longer than in the original, but this will happen essentially every episode, so this is the only time I'll bring it up. Actually, the dub narrator also makes a mistake here. He says Goku left for his 2-day journey, but Goku only took around 1 day to get back, not 2. After that, we get this scene where the dub cuts out this narration from the original about the animals fleeing due to the bad vibes of the Saiyans. Following that, Krillin shows up, and in the dub, Gohan refers to him like they're old friends, while in the original, Gohan barely remembers Krillin, since he only saw him 1 time a year ago. When Nappa and Vegeta arrive, they bring up how Piccolo is a Namekian, and say Namekians are known for their mysterious magical powers, but the dub removes any mention of magic here. After that, Dub Nappa offers to spare the Earthlings if they tell them where the Dragon Balls are, but in the original, Nappa just says fighting back is pointless, so it's obvious that he was never going to spare them. Nappa then reads our guys' power levels. With Gohan and Krillin, the dub just rounds their power levels instead of using exact numbers, but for Piccolo, they randomly decide to make him stronger than he was supposed to be. Speaking of high power levels, it's been a running bit on the channel for a long time that I want my subscriber count to surpass Vegeta's power level of 18,000. Seeing as the Saiyans are finally here, it's now or never. As of writing this, we're extremely close to surpassing Vegeta. We might even make it before the release of this video, but if not, I'd appreciate the support. Next is pretty minor, but I guess it's worth mentioning. They're supposed to be called Saibamen, not Saibamen. Jumping into episode 23, a news crew shows up, and they get a bunch of extra dialogue in the dub. After that, we cut over to Yajirobe talking to the press, where he says his boys will handle the Saiyans and everything will be alright, which is technically all true. But despite that, the dub has him consistently lie, saying stuff like the other fighters are just wearing down the Saiyans so he can finish them off, or saying he's the one who trained Goku. Another thing from this bit with Yajirobe is he calls our gang Earth's Special Forces, which the news crews will continue to call them for the next several episodes. After we see Tenshinhan take out a Saibaman, it cuts away to Goku, who's worried about the others, but the dub strangely cuts out Goku's internal monologue here. And after that, we cut to Piccolo having an internal monologue about how strong Vegeta must be to be able to one-shot a Saibaman so casually, but the dub has Piccolo comment on how ruthless Vegeta is instead. Then later on we cut back to Kame House, and this entire scene is chocked full of unnecessary extra dialogue. Back in the action, Yamcha starts fighting his Saibaman, and Gohan can't see the fight, so Piccolo tells him to follow their ki. The dub accurately translates that, but then greatly extends Piccolo's instruction. Moving on to episode 24, Krillin fires his big technique, and Piccolo comments on how it's powerful but slow. Once again, the dub removes that important context. Then after his attack, Krillin comments on how he missed one, but the dub cuts that line out too. They probably wanted to have more shock value when the last one jumped out at Gohan, but it's at the cost of making Krillin look more incompetent. Piccolo saves Gohan, and Gohan thanks him. In the original, Piccolo basically says he wasn't trying to help Gohan and just wanted to kill the Saibamen, maintaining his villain status, but the dub changes this to Piccolo telling Gohan to stay focused. Oh, I probably should have already mentioned this, but for some reason the dub doesn't like saying Namekian. They tend to call them Nameks instead, which is a pretty weird change. We don't call Earthlings Earths. Once Nappa starts the big fight, he sends Piccolo into a mountain, and the dub adds in a bit where Tenshinhan asks Piccolo if he's okay, and Piccolo responds that he has a few broken ribs. Then, Chaozu tries to use his psychic powers to hold Nappa, but the dub changes this, removing Chaozu's comment about his powers not working. So in the dub, it looks like Chaozu was making a weird pose for no reason. Next, Dub Nappa asks who wants to die first, despite the fact we can clearly see that his mouth isn't moving during this scene. Then, when Nappa punches off Tenshinhan's arm, the dub has Vegeta deliver a pun about how Tien was disarmed. Now a bit happened, and Chaozu blows himself up. Afterwards, Dub Vegeta says Nappa barely had time to defend himself, implying that Nappa blocked Chaozu's attack in some way. Nothing like that is implied in the original. The entire point of this scene is to get across how absolutely screwed our gang is. So the dub trying to hype up Chaozu's attack more here is actively making the scene worse. That takes us to episode 25, where we get this moment where Piccolo talks about how hopeless things are. The dub has him say the complete opposite, saying they might have a chance since Nappa is stupid. Alright, time for another technique. Here we see Tenshinhan use the Kiko Ho, which as you probably know, the dub renamed the tribe oh wait, no, they just removed the name entirely. That's an odd choice for sure. Considering they've left the names in for all of the other techniques so far, it's definitely weird to leave this one out. Ironically, this is probably the single worst technique to leave unnamed, since the Kiko Ho was previously established to use one's own life force to fuel the attack, meaning Tien only dies due to his own attack. But since the dub treats it like a generic ki blast, it looks more like he died from his previous injuries instead. So I guess we'll have to wait till the Cell Saga to talk about the Tri-Beam, assuming this series makes it that far. Once again, the dub shows pity for our fallen fighters, having Vegeta mention that Tenshinhan's attack might have worked if Nappa hadn't blocked it. Just like before with Chaozu, this isn't in the original. Nappa didn't block anything. He's just so strong that neither attack phased him. Okay, episode 26. In a scene with our B team back at Kame House, Oolong reminds the viewers that if Piccolo dies, the Dragon Balls will disappear, but once again, the dub just removes this reminder. Then, back with Vegeta and Nappa, during their 3-hour wait for Goku, Nappa asks if he can go play around with the Earthlings, and Vegeta says not to overdo it. This is because Vegeta wants Goku to be there to see them wipe out the population as punishment for betraying them, but the dub misunderstood, having Vegeta tell Nappa to save his energy for the fight with Goku because it could get intense. So Nappa goes off to terrorize the population for a while, and a good half of the dialogue during this scene here is either added in, removed, or changed entirely. It kinda seems like they just freestyled while writing the scene. Then, we cut back to King Kai, where we get a funny gag scene about him making puns in a serious situation, but the dub just removes the joke, making the entire scene really awkward. During the next episode, we get another silent standoff where the dub fills the silence with banter from Nappa. Okay, finally time for another technique. This time it's the Kienzan, which the dub renamed the Destructo Disc. Now compared to Special Beam Cannon, this is a pretty big upgrade in terms of translation. Technically Energy Disc would be more accurate, but Destructo Disc definitely gets the point across without sounding stupid, so I guess we won't count this one as a mistranslation. On to episode 28. After Piccolo sacrifices himself for Gohan, Piccolo pretty adamantly tells Gohan to run, but in the dub, Piccolo tells Gohan that it's up to him to beat the Saiyans. But while that's going on, we cut over to Kami. In the original, he just says he's about to die and mentions how impressed he is with Piccolo's sacrifice, but the dub stuffs a ton of extra dialogue in here, having him say there are legends of more Dragon Balls on Namek that they can use to wish everyone back. This is extremely weird. Firstly, Kami didn't even know he was an alien 3 hours ago, so how does he know about Namekian legends? And more importantly, this scene kinda ruins the tension this arc. This is where things are supposed to look hopeless. With Piccolo dead, no one can be revived, so even if Goku wins, all of our dead friends are still gone forever. But in the dub, from the moment Piccolo dies, Kami tells the audience that actually, everything's fine, there's more Dragon Balls, don't worry about it. Now finally, back to Piccolo's death scene. We get a silent flashback of Piccolo's time with Gohan, so as expected, the dub adds in a monologue from Piccolo over the entire scene. There's also a pretty big difference between original Piccolo's line of, "This last year wasn't so bad," and dub Piccolo's line saying, "You're like the son I never had." After that, we get Gohan's Masenko. It's honestly really weird how only some of the moves have their names changed. It's like they flip a coin to decide if they're going to change them or not. While charging his Masenko, Gohan's power level jumps up to 2800, but the dub has Vegeta say over 3000 instead, followed by him commenting on how drastically the Earthling's power can fluctuate, but the dub has him yell a warning to Nappa instead. After Gohan's attack fails to work, Gohan apologizes for not being able to avenge Piccolo, but the dub makes Gohan delusional, making him say he won't let Piccolo down, and they double down on this. After that, Krillin tells Gohan to run. In the original, Gohan says he doesn't have enough strength left to run, while in the dub, Gohan stays because he wants to keep fighting to avenge Piccolo. Finally, Goku arrives, and while talking to Gohan and Krillin, Gohan reiterates that the Dragon Balls are gone, so no one is coming back, but the dub has Gohan say, "We have to bring them back somehow," and Goku says they will. I don't understand why the dub team wants to ruin the vibes so much. This arc works so much better if we think things are hopeless. It's stuff like this that makes people think Dragon Ball has no tension. Okay, Goku goes into the fight, and yes, it's time. Goku's power level is supposed to be over 8,000, not 9,000. And this matters more than you think, because we know Goku at a Kaioken times 2 was weaker than Vegeta, but at times 3 Goku was stronger. If Goku's base was 9,000, then a 2 times should make Goku equal to Vegeta at 18,000. So them changing the power levels here does create a minor plot hole. Their fight takes us into episode 29, where Goku hits Nappa once each for each of his friends, but in the dub, he says the first hit is for all 4 of his friends. Then he throws a hit for Piccolo and Yamcha individually, leaving Chaozu and Tenshinhan out. Such a weird change. The dub adds in a line where Nappa tells Goku that he was commander-in-chief of the Saiyan army, which is absolutely not a thing. Anyways, after that, Vegeta yells at Nappa to calm down. In the original, Vegeta says Nappa still stands a chance against Goku if he uses his head, but the dub cuts that out. There's this scene where Goku and Nappa are bantering. In it, the dub has Nappa say he's still holding back, which is really misleading, because he's not supposed to be holding back here. After Goku and Nappa fight for a bit, Vegeta says he's taking over, and to hype up his boy, Nappa tells Goku that Vegeta is so gifted that he was given the same name as their planet. Keep in mind, Toriyama didn't actually decide to make Vegeta royalty till the Namek Saga. Regardless, instead of delivering that line, dub Nappa basically just says Vegeta is really strong. Quickly after that, Vegeta uses said power to kill Nappa, and before Gohan and Krillin flee the scene, Krillin mentions that Goku should move the battle somewhere else so they can preserve their friends' bodies. The dub completely changes this, having Krillin warn Goku that grabbing Vegeta's tail won't work. Also, this one is pretty minor, but I don't like that the dub removed the line where Goku tells Gohan that he'll take him fishing after he takes care of Vegeta. Okay, episode 30, time for the big fight, and what I consider to be one of the worst dub changes in the series. This is the part of the story where Vegeta tells Goku that he was sent to Earth because he's low-tier trash, that he himself is a super elite, and no amount of training could bridge the gap between them. This is essentially setting up a major theme from this arc, that hard work can be just as valuable as natural talent. But the dub completely rewrites this scene, having Vegeta try to recruit Goku. This completely misses the point of the arc. Dub Vegeta is showing respect to Goku and his hard work, which directly contradicts what Vegeta said in the original. At this time in the series, Vegeta despises Goku and everything he stands for. He definitely would not recruit Goku, not in a million years. Another thing they added in here is they have Vegeta refer to himself as the Prince of all Saiyans. Like I mentioned earlier, in the original the idea that Vegeta is the Prince of Saiyans wasn't thought of yet, so the dub retroactively added it in here. I actually consider this a good change though, I just wanted to point it out. During the fight itself, there's a part where Vegeta is goading Goku into using the Kaioken, but the dub cuts it out. Then, after Goku uses the Kaioken, the dub adds in a line where Vegeta says he's encountered someone else using a similar technique before. Okay dub, why though? While Vegeta powers up, we cut over to a scene with Launch, where she's depressed because Tenshinhan died, but the dub just removes her attachment to Tien, and has her say the world is going down instead. Back in the fight, Vegeta tells Goku that even before their planet was wiped out, he was the strongest Saiyan, but the dub replaces this with him taunting Goku for losing his tail. After Goku beats the Tarball out of Vegeta, he's in disbelief that a low-class warrior is besting him, but since the dub removed Vegeta's class-based superiority complex from earlier, he doesn't mention it here either. It's also interesting that in the original, Vegeta is shocked to see his own blood, really showing how little challenge he's faced throughout his life, but the dub removes that as well. The general idea here is Vegeta is so blinded by rage that he's willing to blow up the planet despite the risk that he himself could die without the planet's oxygen. but the dub has sort of removed his primary source for why he's so furious, so this scene doesn't hit as hard as it did in the original. And just because it's about food, Yajirobe laments that he should have eaten more meaty buns, so of course the dub has him say pizza and ice cream instead. Now after the beam struggle, Vegeta thinks about becoming a great ape, but without the moon, he needs to create an artificial one. It's mentioned twice that creating a power ball drains a significant portion of Vegeta's energy, but the dub removes any mention of the ball making him weaker. Then when Vegeta explains how the Great Ape transformation works, the dub dumbs down Vegeta's explanation. Now, I can't resist talking about the original Ocean dub here. As many of you probably know, they had Vegeta explain that Goku's father was
a brilliant scientist
who created the artificial moon technique. It's pretty obvious that they wrote that line without realizing that there was going to be a special about Goku's father later on in the show, so when Funimation went back through to redo these episodes, they fixed this blatant oversight. In episode 32, Vegeta explains that the Great Ape transformation makes someone 10 times stronger, but the dub cuts that out too. Then Goku has a flashback to his masters talking about his tail. In it, Kami tells him he can make it so his tail won't grow back, but the dub changes it in a really awkward way, where it seems like he's talking to someone else about Goku, which is really weird since this is supposed to be Goku's flashback. Then, we cut over to Yajirobe, where he comments on how huge the Saiyan is. The dub changes this to him planning to attack the Saiyan from behind. This change is worse than you probably think. Part of what makes Yajirobe's last minute save this arc so funny is because it's so surprising, so setting it up like this actively makes the scene worse. Okay, time for another technique. This time it's the Taioken. Firstly, in the original, Goku mentions that it's Tenshinhan's technique, but the dub cuts that part out. The dub translates Taioken into Solar Flare. A more accurate translation would be Sun Fist, but just like Destructo Disc, Solar Flare does get the point across pretty well. This has made me realize I missed a few techniques earlier. So firstly, the technique Goku is trying to use here is the Genki Dama, which the dub changed to Spirit Bomb. The more accurate translation of Genki Dama would be something like Vitality Sphere, and I'll once again say I don't mind this name change, as it still maintains the spirit of the technique. But there's still a problem here, because earlier on, they renamed Yamcha's Sokyodan the Spirit Ball. Unfortunately, these two names are way too similar and add a bit of confusion. Sokyodan translates more accurately to Winding Energy Bullet, so the original names of Spirit Ball and Spirit Bomb aren't even similar. Generally, I think Spirit Bomb is a good name, but Spirit Ball is a pretty bad translation in general, while also causing confusion. While Goku is gathering energy for the Spirit Bomb, the dub adds a monologue where Goku talks about all the energy he's gathering. Episode 33 surprisingly doesn't have any major mistranslations. That makes for 2 well-translated episodes out of 33. Moving on to 34, Gohan thinks about how Vegeta must be worn down from his fight with Goku, but the dub has Gohan say Vegeta's too strong instead, and that he's just a kid. Bruh, kids don't talk like this. They don't think to themselves, I'm just a kid. Oh, what the heck? There's this scene where Gohan clearly fires a Masenko, but he actually yells Kamehameha in the original Japanese version. So the dub correctly changes it to Masenko. Wild. The dub actually fixed an error from the original. I'm gonna take away a point for that. While that happens, King Kai instructs Krillin to target Vegeta's evil ki with the Spirit Bomb, but the dub just has him say to feel it out. Yajirobe then yells at Krillin to fire the blast, which since he yelled it out, Vegeta now sees Krillin, so he's forced to fire the bomb. This is ultimately the reason Vegeta is able to dodge the ball, but the dub has Krillin say, here goes, and seemingly doesn't understand that it was Yajirobe's fault Krillin missed. After it missed, Goku quickly tells Gohan to send it back. In the original, King Kai says it's hopeless, but in the dub, they have King Kai come up with the idea to send it back instead. Now, because they removed the earlier line where King Kai tells Krillin to target Vegeta's evil energy, this part where Goku says the Spirit Bomb won't hurt Gohan since he's not evil kinda comes out of nowhere. This scene has caused a lot of confusion in the community, since it implies that the Spirit Bomb just doesn't work on someone unless they're evil. But this is likely only the case because Krillin was specifically targeting Vegeta's evil energy. Back at Kame House, they head over to the battlefield, and the dub adds in some lines slandering Ox King and Oolong for no reason. Finally, when Vegeta falls back to the ground, Krillin talks about how they should dig a grave for him. That sets up for Vegeta's banger comeback, where he asks if the grave is for them. It's unforgivable that the dub changed such a banger line. Okay, final episode of the Saiyan Saga. Episode 35. Krillin references that Gohan's tail grew back, just like Goku's used to, but the dub cuts out that reference to Goku's old tail. They then add in a line where Yajirobe yells at Vegeta to leave Gohan alone. Once again, they're kinda ruining the humor of Yajirobe's contribution. This scene works much better if Yajirobe comes out of nowhere. Not to mention, Vegeta likely could have dodged the attack if Yajirobe announced himself like that. After Gohan turns into a Great Ape, Krillin theorizes that becoming a Great Ape returns Gohan and Goku's ferocious Saiyan nature, but the dub removed this line too. Okay, it's finally over. Krillin goes to finish off Vegeta, but Goku stops him. This is a pretty major component of the dub's attempt to change Goku into a more heroic figure. In the original, Goku wants to spare Vegeta so he can fight him again later, and acknowledges that he's being selfish. The dub changes this into Goku wanting to show Vegeta mercy so he has a chance to grow and become a better person in the future. We then cut away to King Kai, who watches silently, so the dub gives him an internal monologue, leading us into the end of the saga. Alright, we made it all the way through the Saiyan saga. I've noticed this later half had a lot less added internal monologues. That being said, there's still plenty to complain about. We finally reached the first instance of the dub slowly turning Goku into Superman, so we'll see how that progresses in the Namek arc. These videos are like the hardest thing to make on my channel, so leaving a like or commenting would help give me the motivation to keep them coming. Till then, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.